Welcome to the Star Wars Q&A, everyone. And please give a round of applause for our guests Jimmy B and Paul Blake. My name's Andy. No round of applause necessary for me. But I'm just going to start. Thank you. I'm just going to start by asking some questions from these guys, and then we'll open it up for some questions from the audience as well. So, should we talk about Star Wars?
What's that?
Yeah.
We could do, Andy.
We could do. Yeah, why not? I want to just start by talking about both of your introductions into the saga and how you got involved. First of all,
Well, I was working in London at the BBC in a series called Jack and Ori, which you're all too young to remember, but it was a kids TV series which I was in with a sort of Christmas special with Anthony Daniels, and he was actually the Christmas special was called the Seven Dancing Cherries or something like that. It was about a Anyway, that was the show I was in, and Anthony rang me up one evening and said, I'm doing this sci-fi film, which is 1976, remember, and the director's desperate to get some other character actors, and he's asked me if I knew anybody, and I thought, well, you're out of work, you need some job, you need another job, are you interested? And of course, in 1976, every sci-fi film was Attack of the Killer Tomato, so we weren't that excited about the prospect. But then he said it's 500 quid. I said I'll be there tomorrow morning. So I literally did go about 2 days later up to Elstree Studios and walked out very early one morning because it was a long train trip from where I lived, and I hadn't had any sort of tea or coffee or breakfast or anything. So I walked out onto set and I was pretty hungry. And there was nobody there, apart from right in the far corner was a sort of mock-up of the Millennium Falcon, where it's surrounded by a lot of sand and a lot of overheads lighting. And I thought, oh, that looks pretty cool. But there was no one around, apart from this one guy in the far corner. So I went over to him and said, my name's Paul, I'm here to see... Oh, you couldn't get me a coffee, could you? Because I've just come all the way from central London. I haven't had a chance to get a drink. He said, oh, yeah, sure. So he went off, got me a coffee, came back. And I said, oh, thanks. Do you know anything about this sci-fi film? It's called Blue Heart. I don't think it's got I said, do you know the director? His name is George somebody. And he said, I'm George Lucas. So I'd asked George Lucas to go and get me a cup of coffee before I'd even been introduced to him. And that's amazingly how I got the job. Then he virtually said, yeah, can you play an alien? And I said, what kind of alien? And he said, don't know yet, which he didn't. and that's virtually how I got the job. And then about a month later, I found myself in the makeup department doing, in those days, what was called a life mask, which sort of, you have plaster of Paris stuck over your head, front and back, and then they pour in an India rubber solution, and that's how they made up the sort of the Greedo head character, which finished about there. And then a week later after that, then I was my first day on set. So that's how I got introduced to Star Wars.
How about yourself, Jimmy?
Again, much the same as Paul. I mean, I was on doubling for other guys and doing other creatures at the time. Mm-hmm. And it was just by luck that JJ was coming in to have a look what was in for making the series, and the guy says to me, could you jump into R2 for us just so JJ can see the movements and such. So I climbed inside it, they locked me in, done what they could hear in the earpiece, and do this, do that. So I just done them for JJ. JJ took a small video right on his camera type thing, and that was it. Finished there, went back, went into my costume, went on to film what I was filming at the time, and then a week later I got a phone call saying, right, you've got the part, you're going to take over as R2, and that was it, basically, yeah.
Excellent.
And so you see, it's simple. If you want to be in Star Wars, just do that. It's very easy.
Yeah, just be in the right place.
Just be there at the time. Yeah. Just be there at the right time, yeah.
And obviously, you've taken over that role from Kenny Baker.
Kenny, yeah.
Did you have any contact with Kenny about R2? Or?
Well, Kenny and I, we worked from a way back in 80-something when Willow came out.
Yeah.
We worked together there. We've done numerous pantos together. And, I mean, yeah, we used to laugh and joke because we kept, every time, you know, it's like when you're going about and somebody would go like that, you know. And we'd take the piss, but when we used to talk, we'd ask, what do you do? And he would tell, oh, I do this and I do that. So basically, you could say, through the years, I picked up things of how to keep it going, you know, the way it would go, up until almost the end. As I say, we had a chat, and he was there, and he's like, right, just do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. And that was basically it. So then Force Awakens came out, and the next one came out, and just after that, then we got a phone call, and that was it.
Yeah. Okay. So going back to yourself, Paul, you said about the mask, the way it was made with a cast of your face, was it?
Yes, they did what was called life casts, and it was a very primitive way of
Did you
doing
get the
it.
fingers or the tubes?
In my day, they didn't even bother sticking tubes up your
Nah.
nose. It was just, can you breathe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you're still alive.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
Yeah, give us a thumbs up if you hear anything
Yeah,
happen.
if you can still breathe, give us a thumbs up. So, and you've got to remember, it was the first time I was introduced to any of this. At that point, I hadn't worn a mask ever, and in fact, it's ever since doing Greedo, I've never worn a mask again. So it was the one and only time I ever wore a mask, and of course, it'll be the only thing on my gravestone as well. Here lies Greedo. He shot first, and on the back of the gravestone, it will say, "Or did he?" Yeah, so the mask was very primitive. I mean, today, Jimmy will tell you, but today, if you're a creature in any kind of sci-fi film or whatever, you'd be in makeup for 6, 7 hours, 5, 6 hours, with it built up from your entire body with all kinds of prosthetics. And if you've got masks or bigger masks, you've got all kinds of servos inside the master.
Crash helmets,
Crash
remote
helmets,
control.
absolutely, and things like air conditioning inside to make it a little bit easier for the actors, depending on who the actor is. So a lot more sophisticated these days, but a lot more tiresome in that at the end of the day, you've also got to be an hour, 2 hours in makeup trying to get all the stuff off before you can get home. So it was so lovely for me, because all I did was take the mask off, and that was fine. Strangely enough, people always ask, I'm sure they ask you, is it hot? You know, was it hot inside the mask and costumes? That was never the problem for me. The mask was never that hot. What it was it stank to high heaven. And I remember a props table at Elstree with all the other actors' heads on the props table. And you thought, oh, yes, there's the hammerhead. Oh, and that's the rat head. I'll just try that. Oh, no, I won't. Because they really did stink from the latex.
Between that and sweat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you've had similar experiences with Doctor Who, don't
Yeah,
you?
mostly the same. As I say, the live cast, you get the live cast, and then once you're in it, I mean, mines are all glued on. Everyone I've had, I don't think I've even had a pull on. It's all like latex, and then they put parts here, glue it.
Yeah.
So basically, once it's on, it is on for the full day. You know what I mean? And in fact, I remember once, I think it was the Mox of Balhoun. I had a 2-stone top head, and then the mask. And after we had shot for about 12 hours, we were in the cab going back, and of course, stupid traffic cops decided we'll do a check in the car. So I'm sitting there, just almost asleep, sat there, they're doing this check, and I heard one of them saying, do you want to mind and move the doll out the way? And the guys just started laughing. He goes, that guy's sitting in there, and if we don't get to fuck out of here within the next 5 minutes, you're going to have him in the hospital because he's due to pass out. So the next time we got a blue light straight to the studio. So again, right, get him out. You know.
That's one way to
that
make
was
an
it. So
entrance,
it was a good laugh that day.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So, we'll take some questions from the audience. Does anyone have a question straight away? No questions?
One
Ah,
there.
yes,
Yeah.
gentleman there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, for you, Paul. When you were first on the set, when you first read the script, what was your opinion of Star Wars?
Good question. I mean, not many of us got sent scripts actually, so I suppose I was very lucky to get one. In fact, I've still got it, the full script, which was a pink script. It was like a telephone directory. It was so long. And I read about the first 10 pages of it and thought, what the hell is all this about? Didn't understand anything of it, really. And then I carried on and got to my little bits. And when I got to my bits, at least I understood the nature of the scene, because it immediately seemed to be a cowboy scene. There we were in the saloon at the bar. You know, the bad guy comes in, threatens the good guy shoots him. So I recognised the scene from that. So I thought, yeah, I think I can do that. But certainly then reading on and reading all the other bits and pieces about Obi-Wan Kenobi and about Luke and the character that Harrison did, Han Solo. Yeah, it was pretty cool. But you've got to remember, in 1976, every other sci-fi film was Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. So we thought, you know, this is not going to go anywhere. This movie is going to disappear without trace as soon as we've done it. So we didn't pay any attention at all. In fact, I really should have done more work on it, but I didn't. So, yeah,
That's absolutely great. See, when you get a script, you go like that, you start reading, you say, well, that's not mine. Then you go straight to your bit, you read it, and you say, right, that's what I'm doing. The rest of it can go to hell.
That's
because
right, the rest of it
you
can
thought,
go to-
I'm never going to see what's happening in that anyway. You know what I mean? So that's all done, you never see it. You get pulled in, you've got your little bit there, and then at the end of it, you're like, what happened? You don't see nothing. So basically, you're like, fuck it. Yeah, that's fine, right? Okay, right.
That's
I've got
that's
it.
enough. Yeah. So, but it was certainly interesting getting that script. As I say, I've still got it.
From the perspective of R2, do you get scripts or story information before
Yeah,
you
well,
shoot?
I get
And-
sides. When I go in the morning, I get as you say, it's like a script, but it's just a small page, and it gives you sides, what scenes we're shooting, what you're doing, and basically roughly, well, we maybe want you to do a left turn to so-and-so, and we want you to do this to so-and-so, and that's it. So you've only basically got them scenes.
Yeah.
Then, as I say, when I go in, they put me inside it, I've got an earpiece directed to the director or whoever else is going to be controlling, and that's it. I see nothing for the rest of the day. I mean, I'm just putting the bin left there, earpiece, and you'll get some guys turning around. We need you to look left slightly about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5, and you're like, okay, I'm in here, and you're going, that should be about there. You know, a little bit more, okay, there, that's fine, right, okay, and then you'll go, turn straight back, and you're like, fuck, we're straight.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically that's it. I mean, everything I get is through my ear, you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
A lot of the original stuff, I mean, they certainly don't do it today, but a lot of the original movie was improvised. I mean, Harrison used to improvise a lot around the script, because I think even George would admit that the script wasn't it wasn't exactly Shakespeare. So
No, I don't know about you. I don't think we've ever stuck to a script.
No.
And anything that we've done,
No.
whether it's Star Wars,
Yeah.
whether it's Doctor Who,
Whatever
or
it
anything
is,
else,
yeah.
you get it, and it's basically got such in it. But when you're doing it, you'll find you come to a stammer where you're just stuck there for a few seconds with nothing. So you just come out with anything that's in your head and start doing it, and it just carries on, you know what I mean, and they roll it through. So I don't think any script that's come out has ever
No,
been script to whatever's there, you know what I mean?
The actually, I was with the actor who played Salacious Crumb, the last weekend, and he's a really cool guy called Mark Knudsen, and he was saying that he got the job. He was so nervous at his interview that he couldn't actually read the script, and he was sort of like that, and he was going, and they were going, no, Mark, calm down, it's fine, you're going to be fine, just read it, because he was so nervous. And they said, take 5 minutes. So he sort of went away like this for the back and sort of calmed himself down. And as he was trying to calm himself down by shaking his sort of body out, he went for about 2 minutes. And the director said, do that. And he got the job because of just doing that noise of playing Salacious Crumb. And then that's the noise you hear in the movie, and they honed it down and honed it down. And that's how he got that.
That sounded more like a joker.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not as good as he is.
Any other questions from the audience? Okay, one over here. You, sir?
Yeah. I was just wondering about your experiences between filming. Did the cast ignore you and say, oh, just leave him in this costume?
Well, they did that to both of us, I think, Jimmy, didn't they? I mean, yes, it depends how good or bad the crew were feeling on that particular day, how much attention they paid to you. I know certainly on the first couple, just on the first
At
visit.
the start, the first 3 days,
Yeah.
it was like, whatever you need, you've got it.
Yeah,
After
after
that,
that.
it was like, oh, he's fine, you know.
Yeah, in fact, they used to leave certain actors, whose names I shan't mention, in their suits for some time when they didn't go and help them with things as a punishment. But actually, I remember Kenny's. Inside R2D2, what they used to play terrible jokes on.
Yeah,
Kenny.
lunchtimes.
They used to put nude pictures inside his, and he would get inside and go, bloody hell, what the hell is going on here? And you heard all this noise coming. So they did play lots of tricks
Are they still there?
on us, and they're still there. So I'm sure Jimmy's got them.
I'm saying nothing.
I mean, it was so unusual. I mean, just from the point of view of the first one, it was so unusual and such an extraordinary thing that George was doing, I suppose, that nothing had been done like it before that point. He had to invent industrial light and magic to make it flower and to make it work. Because, of course, the question who shot first is never really important because nobody shot. That happened a year later when all the laser effects were put onto screen by Industrial Light and Magic. You know, it was all done on a very much an ad hoc basis from day to day. So if something had to be blown up or somebody had to die in a certain way, the lighting cameraman and the sound effect guy and the jelly guy would all get together and say, how are we going to do this? You know, and then they go to George and say, George, I think we can do it like this. This was either the day before or on the day of filming. That's how chaotic it was then. Since then, everything is now, or it's supposed to be meticulous.
Yeah, except for the noise, isn't it?
Yeah, except for the noise. Yeah.
Right, what you'll hear is you'll hear a small bang, and then we want you to do this. You're like, right, okay. And I go, 3, 2, fucking hell.
That's right, yeah. And that happened to us a lot as well. I mean, my little bit where Greedo dies, they filled a dummy full of explosives. And that was the way they decided to do it on the day. And they said, no, we just blow the dummy up, then we put the costume back on Paul, he can do the death. Fine, we said, until they actually filled the dummy with so much explosive, it nearly blew the entire canteen into pieces. So they then had to spend the rest of that day brushing it all up, putting the fire out, rebuilding the wall of the cantina, and then refilming it again with quite a lot less explosives in the dummy. And also, when they did get it right and the dummy blew up properly and the costume immediately went on fire, they tore it off the dummy and put it straight on me, still on fire, because it was
Get
smoking.
the effect, yeah.
For that effect. And then they poured acid on the back of the costume as well, just to make it steam even more, and then some atmosphere around that as well. So it was pretty chaotic in those days.
Yeah. It's like the Sarah Jane one with Katie Manning and Liz Slayton, if you remember that one, the Vulture one. And about the scene, you'll see it, we're trying to get in to get the doctor out. And of course, I'm hanging on the door, you know, on the handles, giving it a shake. And it was rigged that it was going to explode. And this is right, you've got at least 10 seconds to dive in there, try it, then jump, and then move. So of course, right, okay, the time to shout to action, and I'm on the door, and all I could hear was 3, 2, I thought, fuck. So I jumped, and just as I jumped, the full door came in, and it was like, what? The guys are like, you okay? I think so.
I'm still standing.
Yeah.